Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Graves on the Aggressive Catch YouTube channel, making the first installment of the Solo Challenge podcast. This is just me, David Graves, not my co-host, Colt Taylor. Just me talking about my predictions on how the standings are going to play out in the National Football League. My voice is going out, and more content will be pumping out once Madden 18 and 2K18 does arrive. So when the content does start to slow, just a video. We're probably going to do 2 videos every week. Probably going to set that pace. But once the NFL season, preseason, and once NBA 2K18 comes out and Madden 18 comes out, I'll be doing realistic rebuilds on both Madden 18 and in 2K18, and then my partner Cole Taylor, he will be doing my part gameplay, and we'll be doing Ultimate Team gameplays. So I'm really excited for that. But just for now, it's really kind of slow. Just in just the start of August is really kind of dead because we don't cover baseball. This is a basketball and a football channel, but just really a lot of just on YouTube, just the sports community as a whole is really kind of still. We're all just as a whole just kind of waiting for Madden 18, 2K18, and just for football season and basketball season to start. But nonetheless, I hope you guys do enjoy the podcast. This is the first one. I really enjoy making this, and hopefully I can do more in the near future. Sit back and relax and enjoy the podcast. What's going on, guys? This is David Graves here with the Aggressive Catch YouTube channel. And after seeing this past Hall of Fame game, this first preseason game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals, I want to go over my win-loss predictions from every division crown, every division winner, and every division clown, every division loser in each division. Starting out with the AFC North, which I think is still one of the strongest divisions, despite the age of the Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens. I still think that having veterans on the team is not so much a detrimental to the team, but it's also very, very good to have on a team. That's why I have the Pittsburgh Steelers ranking in as the Crowns at 11-5. And I still think with Big Ben Roethlisberger being the best quarterback in that division, Le'Veon Bell not only be the best running back in that division by far, but I also still believe that Le'Veon Bell is the best running back in the league. To me, David Johnson is a very, very close second. Do not let Ezekiel Elliott fool you, but I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will go 11-5, winning the AFC North once again. And leading to our division clowns, I actually have the Cleveland Clowns, the Cleveland Browns, going 3-13. Now, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm a Cleveland native. This is my team, and I have to be realistic. I cannot be biased, and as the media tries to get my hopes up, and I have to stay objective about it. I have to be reasonable, and I cannot see this team with Brock Osweiler or anybody, or Cody Kessler at quarterback. I can't see this team winning more than 6 games, more than 5 games. I cannot see that. I cannot, and I will not. That's why maybe in a few years, because every single loser, worst team in a division, in a conference, they usually become the best in a division, in a conference, because you stay at the bottom getting beat up by tougher opponents. You usually get to draft at the top of the draft, and you can stockpile draft picks. Now, we all talking about the Cleveland Browns, who are notorious for making horrendous draft picks, but to me, that is, if you get the number 1 pick or a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick, sooner or later you will draft the right player, and I think 3 or 4 years from now you will draft the right player. I do not think that DeShone Kizer will start too many games. I do think that Cody Kessler and Brock Osweiler will start the most games out of those two. Going on with the AFC East, we all know who the Crowns are. It is the New England Patriots, as they should be. Going 14-2, they had a remarkable offseason, getting Brandon Cooks, Coney Ely, keeping not Brock Osweiler, Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, I think that if Gronk comes back healthy, the offensive line is looking better. To me, Martellus Bennett, that is a loss, but to me, that's not that big of a loss. It's Stephon Gilmore is there, replacing Logan Ryan. I think he's an upgrade over Logan Ryan. To me, this is without a doubt the best team in the National Football League, and I think that they can repeat. The possibility of maybe going even better than 14-2, maybe going 15-1. I do think that they will lose a game. They're not going to go 16-0. I'm not going to entertain that thought,
but a remarkable job by the New England Patriots as well by Bill Belichick and the front office of the New England Patriots. And it was big things, big exciting things to see even after the Brady era, to see what the Patriots will do with Jimmy Garoppolo, because I still think with how the culture of the New England Patriots and how they construct their rosters and build such a great, remarkable team, I still think that even after Tom Brady, I still think that they can capture a Super Bowl, much like how with Joe Montana and then there was Steve Young. I still think that Jimmy Garoppolo can be the Steve Young to Tom Brady's Joe Montana. Now moving on to the clowns at the AFC East, I have the New York Jets. Now the New York Jets are a very interesting team because they're not into the whole tanking thing. They're not telling the media up front that they're tanking, but everyone with two eyes and with a brain and who's knowledgeable about the game of football can all know that the New York Jets are tanking and they are all aboard the Sam Darnold sweepstakes. This is very, very dicey. This is very, very interesting because this is not comparable, but this is almost like tanking for Mitchell Trubisky. Think about it. You are dismantling your entire team for a dude who only played one season. Mitchell Trubisky only played one season. So who's to say if Mitchell Trubisky would have played another season, he would have got worse? Or he could have got better. You don't know. You're playing a gamble. You're rolling the dice. Same thing with Sam Darnold. The New York Jets are taking a gamble. They're rolling the dice that if Sam Darnold, someone who's only played one season, maybe he can stink up the joint, or he can be the next Andrew Luck. We really don't know, but it's very, very interesting to see what the New York Jets will do. But I do think that they will be the worst team in the NFL by far, having the worst roster, the worst quarterback situation with Christian Hasselberg and Bryce Petty. I do think they will go 1-15. I do not see any bright spots on this roster at all. Morris Claiborne, you signed. Darrelle Revis is gone. I like Jamal Adams. He's not a quarterback, so I don't see how he's going to impact that team at all. He'll impact that team, but he won't have quarterback impact. Without a quarterback, you won't have traumatic impact unless your defense and everything around you just constructed so well. In the New York Jets, that team is so horribly constructed. They're so in a tanking, so zeroed in on Sam Darnold that I do think that they will get Sam Darnold, and it'll be very interesting to see where they will go. With the AFC South, the Crowns, I have the Tennessee Titans going at 9-7. You can make a strong argument that they can go 10-6, but you have to give me a strong argument. With Marcus Mariota's leg injury and with Corey Davis and with Derrick Henry, there's a lot of question marks, especially with Corey Davis. You don't know how he'll actually play and how good his hands are because he did have a dropping ball problems at Western Michigan. You don't know. And with Derrick Henry, we actually don't know how good he's going to be because of DeMarco Murray's remarkable bounce-back season with the Tennessee Titans. They do have a good offensive line. Their defense is strong enough. Adding Logan Ryan, which I think was a good addition. And I think that they can win the division in a very, very weak division. The Indianapolis Colts, I have them going just barely missing 9-7. I have them going 8-8, maybe 7-9. But very, very weak division. This division is pretty much up for grabs. And with the clowns of the AFC South, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at 4-12. You know, this is a very, very interesting topic because every single year the Jaguars, they draft well and they always win free agency. Now, there's one thing, draft pick that they didn't mess up. Imagine if the Jacksonville Jaguars had drafted Derek Carr. This whole franchise will probably be a Super Bowl contender. Then again, with Derek Carr having a much better quarterback and having a much lower scale of a quarterback in Blake Bortles, you wouldn't be in a position to get a lot of these draft picks. But just hypothetically, say you were this team, any other quarterback, this would be a Super Bowl contending team. Any other quarterback, this would be a Super Bowl contending team. This is a great constructed roster, minus the offensive line. You have the running back, good receiver, Robinson, Hearns, Miles Jack. You have Polinsky. Ramsey's a beast. Cyprian, I really like to see Malik Jackson. It's just a quarterback in Blake Bortles, because the worst thing you can do in almost any sport, basketball and football, is turn the football over. Turn the ball over, and especially in football, when you turn the ball over, when it's much slower pace than basketball, it's a lot more detrimental to the game. And I think that Blake Bortles and interception problem hurts the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he's going to hinder them so much, no matter the talent around them, because Blake Bortles plays the most impactful position in all of sports, the quarterback position. And I even know with the great roster constructed around them, I do see the Jacksonville Jaguars going 4-12 and being the clowns of the AFC South. I'm sorry, but I do think that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be drafting quarterback at the top of the draft, and I do not think that Blake Bortles will be coming back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Moving on to the AFC West, which is the best division in the National Football League, up there, tied for first to me with the AFC North. I have the Oakland Raiders with the second best record in the National Football League, coming in at 3-13. This roster, to me, adding Marshawn Lynch, to me, whether he does good or bad, to me, does not really affect their overall record, because when you have a good offensive line, when you have Derek Carr, when you have Amari Cooper, when you have Michael Crabtree, when you have Gareon Conley, who's a stud, who I think is going to be a great player. I'm not saying it because he's from Ohio State and I'm biased. Don't put that on me. Sean Smith, I think, is going to have a good year. He just needed another cornerback to play with. Reggie Nelson, Carl Joseph, Khalil Mack. Let's not forget about him. To me, this is just a great, well-rounded team, a very young team, and they do have the firepower to compete with the New England Patriots, because the New England Patriots, they're a very balanced football team. They throw the ball a lot. They can also run the ball a lot. They get a lot of interceptions. They also allow you to punt the football a lot. They're very balanced. They do everything well. But with the Oakland Raiders, such an air raid team, no pun intended, such an air raid team that they can get up there. They can compete with the New England Patriots. And it's just a collision course in the AFC Championship between the Oakland Raiders and New England Patriots. And I'm very excited to see these two teams match up in the AFC Championship. And I do think it's a coin toss. It's a jump ball between these two teams in the Super Bowl. Bar injury from Derek Carr, anybody on the Patriots, knock on wood. But to me, I'm very excited for this team. Very young team. To me, the Oakland Raiders are a very good example on how you rebuild a team the correct way. They got their pass rusher. They got the quarterback in the second round. They got the best receiver. They got receivers in free agency. They got their corners. This is how you go from worse. Because remember, the Oakland Raiders were a laughingstock in the NFL. Come to think, a lot of people forget this. The Oakland Raiders actually have a worse overall record since, I think, 1999, since the Browns returned, have a worse record than the Cleveland Browns. That's something to think about. But they turned themselves around, and I think the Cleveland Browns, they can't do it. They just have to copy and look at different blueprints. Now, coming out with the clowns of the AFC West, I'm not going to call them clowns. I'm going to call them, I'm just going to say at the bottom of the AFC West, because to me, this is such a good division. And I think with the Los Angeles Chargers, in any other division, I think they would be competing for the number one spot. I have them coming in at 5-11. I think they're in most conferences, they were coming at 8-8, 7-9. But this is such a good conference with three Super Bowl contenders, with the Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, the Raiders. I do think that this is such a packed conference of such good young teams that it's very hard. The Los Angeles Chargers are just suffocated by these teams, and I love Joey Bosa. Melvin Gordon had a real good bounce back here. It's very unfortunate to see what happened to Mike Williams, but it sucks. But that's also going to hurt the team a lot, and Phillip Rivers is getting up there in age. It sucks to say, but I cannot put them higher than 5-11, and that rounds out my AFC teams. All right, starting out with my part 2 of the Solo Cast podcast. All right, started out with the NFC East. For my NFC crowns, starting out with the NFC East for the National Football Conference, I have the Dallas Cowboys taking the crown, going 11-5. I think the Dallas Cowboys will take a step back going from 3-13 to 11-5. It's not a big of a step back as some people may think. Going 9-7 and 10-6, I do think that is a big of an overstatement. That is a bit dramatic for my taste. Now, I was a big fan of Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott. I predicted them to go 12-4 last season. I'm going to predict them to go 11-5 this season because the pass rush is an issue, and I think it's a glaring issue, and it will be addressed, it will be picked out, it will be nullified, and it will be seen and attacked by other head coaches when they have film on people like Taco Charlton and such as that. And I think the cornerbacks is also a big issue with Awuzie, Anthony Brown, Nolan Carroll, and I think that is also a really, really big glaring issue because the Cowboys last year had the luxury of going 4-12, a team that really had no business of drafting in the top 5, but this is how the scenarios did of Tony Romo getting hurt. They got the chance of getting Ezekiel Elliott, and Dak Prescott's kind of falling into the lap. They had the luxury of playing teams with easy schedules. AJ Green did not break 1,000 yards. Sam Bradford is a decent enough passer. Aaron Rodgers was not himself. The Baltimore Ravens isn't really a passing team. The Steelers, I think, to me, was probably one of their toughest challenges. And when they faced the Green Bay Packers, when Aaron Rodgers was red hot, you really saw the glaring issues of their quarterbacks and pass rush really, really get there. And it's going to be an issue, but I really think the firepower of Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott will be enough to get them over the edge of 11-5 and be the crowns of the NFC East. Now, going into the clowns of the NFC East, I have the Washington Redskins. In this name, the clowns of the NFC East and the Washington Redskins is so fitting. It's so perfect with this whole Kirk Cousins situation. It's so very, very interesting for a non-Washington Redskins fan, an outsider looking in to see this whole thing unfold, because I do think that the Washington Redskins will attempt to sabotage Kirk Cousins and find any excuse necessary not to pay Kirk Cousins, because at the end of next season he could come to the negotiation table saying, hey, I had 30 plus touchdowns, I had less than 15 interceptions, and I have 4,000 yards. Well, the Washington Redskins can say, this upcoming season, well, you didn't have 4,000 yards, you didn't have 30 touchdowns. So I think that they will make an attempt to take the ball out of his hands and make them not throw as much. And even if that is not true, the Washington Redskins, to me, in such a tough division, with not only the Dallas Cowboys, but the New York Giants are right up there as NFC East crowns, as NFC East champions. And I think that the Washington Redskins, in a result, will just be smothered. Not just be smothered in talent, because I do think that the Washington Redskins are more talented than the Philadelphia Eagles, but you do have to remember that all three of these teams, other than the Washington Redskins, are more organized. They're more well-rounded. There's no commotions about, is Kirk Cousins going to get paid? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? That's not happening. And even that is happening with the Dallas Cowboys, but yet they're so talented. They're not getting away with it. The Washington Redskins do not have the talent to get away with things like that. And I do think that 6-10, they will go 6-10. They will be at the bottom of the NFC East, and I don't know where they go from here. Because to me, if they were thinking about moving on from Kirk Cousins, to me, why would you not sign a backup? Why would you not sign a Kaepernick or a Jay Cutler or a Brian Hoyer and even have that as a backup? Because everyone and their mother knows that Kirk Cousins is leaving next season to go to the San Francisco 49ers. The Washington Redskins cannot be so naive, so delusional to think that they're going to keep Kirk Cousins. That doesn't make any sense, because to me, you should have signed another free agent quarterback at this point as a backup. I don't care if it's Robert Griffin III again. If it's somebody, you have to have somebody, because you're going to be at the position next year where you either have to be a quarterback, and maybe the Redskins do go 7-9 and they miss out on a John Rosen or a Jack Rudolph or a Sam Darnold, or Lamar Jackson. Then what position are they putting themselves in? It makes absolutely no sense. And are the Washington Redskins setting themselves up to play the victim? This is a very interesting discussion, because the Washington Redskins can say this: hey, We didn't know what to do with Kirk Cousins. Our hands were tied. We gave him all this money, and he turned down the max contract. He was going to be the highest paid quarterback. Everyone saw it, and he turned it down. And, we didn't know what to do. And I think that could be a reasonable excuse for them to do, just to play victim. To me, that's not good enough. Even as a non-Redskin fan, you should have signed a free agent quarterback by now. And 6-10 is going to be the highest if they not get this Kirk Cousins situation solved. And this could be a downward spiral from the once NFC East crowns. Moving on to the NFC North, I have the Green Bay Packers going at 10-6. Now, last season, they did start out relatively slow for Aaron Rodgers, but I do actually think that they will start out slow again with a few offensive line problems, and I think that those offensive line problems will transfer into this year, and also defensive line, not defensive line problems, but secondary problems, and overall defensive problems as a whole. And something that's gone unnoticed is that the weight that Aaron Rodgers is carrying. He's carrying the entire Green Bay Packers organization on his shoulders. All of it. All the glaring problems that the Green Bay Packers has goes absolutely unnoticed because they have one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And to me, if this does not go unnoticed, the Green Bay Packers will never win another Super Bowl again. Aaron Rodgers will unfortunately be another one-ring wonder. And I don't want that for one of the greatest talents, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Their middle linebacker core is in shambles. Defensive line is in shambles. Secondary, from their free safeties, their quarterbacks in shambles. Running game is a dramatic question mark. Outside of Jordy Nelson, when Jordy Nelson went down, the Green Bay Packers had one of the slowest wide receiving cores. What are the Green Bay Packers doing in terms of free agency and in terms of drafting? Because to me, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere at all because they're going to go to another NFC championship. And all those problems that you saw against the Atlanta Falcons were in the face of Aaron Rodgers. He was just overwhelmed. That game against the Atlanta Falcons, it was not his fault at all. He was just completely overwhelmed. He had no help from his offensive line because Vic Beasley and Dion Lewis, Keanu Neal, and they were all in his face, and then Devontae Freeman, and then Matt Ryan, and just Julio Jones. They were just raining up touchdowns. He just had no help at all. And I want to put the Packers as Super Bowl contender, but right now, for at least 3 to 4 more years, if Aaron Rodgers is still a top tier quarterback, I cannot put the Green Bay Packers above 10-6. I can also not put them in a Super Bowl contender because of those glaring issues, because of these, because see the value of quarterback position. The quarterback position is the most important because you could have the greatest talent ever carry a team that will probably be a top 5 pick. But with Aaron Rodgers, they're possibly a Super Bowl contender. That's just magnitudes for people who don't understand why the quarterback position is so valued, or why teams just go crazy and just scramble over them. And that's why. And for the clown, so fitting, and it's the Chicago Bears. Now, I am a huge Jordan Howard fan. Huge. Came out the 5th round out of Indiana, rushed for 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns. I am a big fan, and coming into this draft, I was looking for the Chicago Bears to maybe draft a Corey Coleman or a Jamal Adams, a Solomon Thomas, or maybe trade down to get an O.J. Howard, or draft a DeShone Kizer in the 2nd round. That's something I would like them to do, but no. The idiocy completely broke loose in that war room. Stupidity and ignorance is completely something that I cannot fathom. It's not even about the draft picks. It's the fact that they took a quarterback that we'll get into why I dislike them taking a quarterback when we get into Los Angeles Rams a little bit later on. But you have such a clear top talent. A rookie was the best player on your football team, a rookie, a 5th-round rookie in Jordan Howard. Maybe you could have. I would have loved to see a tandem of Corey Davis and Jordan Howard in the backfield, and then you drafted a DeShone Kizer in the 2nd round. Can you imagine how beautiful that would be? That would be much better than than Mitchell Trubisky and the tight end they dropped in the 2nd round out of Ashland. This is why the Chicago Bears will be the clowns of the NFC North and go 3-13 and be tied for the 2nd worst record in the National Football League. Confusion and disarray in the front office and in the war room where Jeff Fox, the head coach, did not know that they were going to draft Mitchell Trubisky hours before the draft. Things like this, when you sign Mike Glennon and then you draft a quarterback who started 13 games, things like this, it just tears a team from the inside out. Where's Kevin White at? I thought you have one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL. One of the worst wide receiver cores. If we look back at some of my clowns, the Chicago Bears, of course, Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, they have the worst wide receiving core out of those three, out of those teams. And Corey Davis, I would have loved to see there. But you have Kevin White, an injury-prone player who will not do anything, who will never do anything. It will be out of his league by probably next year, and we'll never see again. And we'll just think, what happened to him? And we'll just think, man, Kevin White could have been something, man. He could have been something if he could have stayed healthy. He'll be in another YouTube video and say, he really could have been something if he didn't get hurt. He will come and he will go. Mitchell Trubisky, he will come, he will go. The Chicago Bears team will come, and they will come this 2017-2018 season, and we can say the amount of potential they could have had in this draft class. Corey Davis, Jordan Howard, DeShone Kizer. I'm not even that big of a DeShone Kizer fan. I still think that DeShone Kizer in the 2nd round with Corey Davis and a great stud running back. To me, that's a disrespect to Jordan Howard. That is a complete disrespect to Jordan Howard, because I do understand that you need to give him a quarterback to play with. No, don't take that out the wrong, but to play alongside. But Mitchell Trubisky and the trading up, and you drafted the wrong one, and no, it's a complete joke, complete clowns. Probably in the National Football League. Moving on to the NFC South, I have my first surprise: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going 10-6. A lot of people would think that the Atlanta Falcons probably would have been at the top of the list, would have been the Crowns. But I actually think that 25-point blown lead and the season that Matt Ryan had, to me, was an aberration. To me, I think him winning the MVP was a little excessive. You could have gave him the Offensive Player of the Year, and you could have been done with it. Given the MVP and the Offensive Player, you didn't have to do all that, okay? And I think that blowing a 25-point lead, being the Offensive Player and the MVP, I think that gets to a psyche of the most important position on the football field, the quarterback. And Matt Ryan has always been a B-plus quarterback, and I think this season he reverts back to that B-plus quarterback. I think that Matt Ryan goes back to being Matt Ryan. I think that A-plus upper echelon quarterback that we saw last season, I don't see that happening again. I think that's one of these aberration seasons that we saw with Cam Newton. Cam Newton had an easy schedule, and he kind of just wowed everybody with his flashy plays and touchdowns, but the season after that, he kind of went back down to earth. And I see that happen with Matt Ryan. With the clowns of the NFC South, it also pains me to say us having New Orleans Saints going in at 7-9. Now, the New Orleans Saints is my second favorite team in the NFL because of one player that gets constantly overlooked when you're talking about top quarterbacks. If Drew Brees was on the Houston Texans, what do you think their record would be? If he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars, what do you think his record would be? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what would their record be? The Oakland Raiders, the Washington Redskins, the Tennessee Titans, all those teams that I just named, those teams would be in the Super Bowl. Every single one of those teams would be in the Super Bowl with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But yet, since he's stuck on a team with an offensive-minded coach who cannot seem to coach or draft defensive players, and he's stuck in this limbo state of his career. The limbo state of the career is at this point, you're still putting up stats, you're still putting up yards, you're still doing your job as a quarterback, what you're supposed to do, but no one else on the football team can ever seem to do their job. So what's happening to Drew Brees? He's just kind of riding the waves. It's kind of 4,000 yard season and 7-9, 4,000 yard season, 7-9, 7-9. And unfortunately, that's happened to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time because their defense is such a glaring issue. And I would have loved to see them draft Marshawn Lattimore. And I think if you really liked Reuben Foster at the top of the draft, at the bottom of the first round, you move up 2 picks at leapfrog the San Francisco 49ers, and you take Reuben Foster, Marshawn Lattimore, and you present that to Drew Brees. You present that idea of Drew Brees that say, hey, man, Drew Breesy, we're going to try get you another Super Bowl ring within 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. Maybe 1 to 2 years. When these two stud, game-changing players develop. These two game-changing players, Reuben Foster, Marshawn Lattimore. To me, if they would have got Marshawn Lattimore, to me, that's a game changer. That's really, really, to me, you're cooking with grease now. You're thinking of something. But unfortunately, that did not happen, and I have them being the clowns of the NFC South. And it just pays me to say that one of my favorite athletes of all time. Drew Brees is my favorite athlete of any sport of all time, and it just pains me to label him as a clown. And last but not least, I have the NFC West. I have the Seattle Seahawks coming in at 11-5. Winning the NFC West. Once again, to me, this is no surprise with the competition they're facing in that conference. I mean, who else do you want me to put there? But in all seriousness, I really do like the Seattle Seahawks. I like Thomas Rawls. I like the Thomas Rawls and Eddie Lacy combo. I really enjoy that. I like that. I like the thought of that. Russell Wilson, to me, I love how he's mobile and how he conducts himself and his feet. He's just so professional. And to me, he's just a top up echelon quarterback. And with the team he has constructed around him, with Doug Baldwin and Curtis, they're not the best receivers, but man, they're just good wide receivers. They're good football players. And that's really sometimes all you need. Sometimes you don't need the biggest, strongest guy like a Brock Osweiler. Maybe sometimes you just need a football player like a Russell Wilson. Sometimes you don't need the tallest, the strongest, the fastest, like a Kevin White. Sometimes you just need a Doug Baldwin, like a football players. And that's what the Seattle Seahawks have, and that's what I love so much about them. They have talent, they have football players, and that's what makes them the crowns of the NFC West, and that's what makes them so special and the best team. I think that they can be Super Bowl contenders, I think, once again. And I think that I think if they get that offensive line thing sorted out, because there's no unit on the football field more important than the offensive line. There's not the secondary, defensive line, wide receiver core, running back core, nothing. It's the offensive line because it affects everything. If the offensive line cannot block, the quarterback can't get pressure. The quarterback can't get the ball off, and he can't throw to the receivers. And if the offensive line is blocking well, the quarterbacks have to cover longer, and the receivers can get open. And this is a whole chain link effect. And then Russell Wilson just suffers on top of that. And going to the clowns, I have the excuse me, back to the Seattle Seahawks. I do think that their defense with Earl Thomas, a bit of him was scared, saying he was going to retire, but him and Can't Center with Bam Bam, Wagner, Thomas, Richard Sherman is still Richard Sherman. Them two, boom, clowns. The Los Angeles Rams. This goes back to the entire Mitchell Trubisky point of if you do not have a team constructed around if you do not have a good enough team to trade up to number one pick to draft a quarterback, why would you do it? I don't blame the Los Angeles Rams for moving up and taking Jared Goff and taking the wrong player because, let's face it, Carson Wentz, even though I'm not a big Carson Wentz fan and that I don't think Carson Wentz is as good as everyone else makes him to be, and saying that I would take Dak Prescott number one, that's just an aberration because no one thought Dak Prescott would be that good. But let's say it's between, we have a do-over, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. And let's say they took Jared Goff. And to me, I don't have a problem with that. They took the wrong player, but to me, that's fine because as a human beings, we make mistake, okay? They made the mistake. They took the wrong player. And to me, I do think that the development of Jared Goff was a little bit hurt by such a dysfunction of the team around him. And Carson Wentz, the reason why I think that Jared Goff would have been better off being a Philadelphia Eagle. Let's say if the Los Angeles Rams made the right decision, they took Carson Wentz, and Jared Goff ended up as an Eagle. I do think that Jared Goff would have put up Carson Wentz numbers his rookie year, because I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles obviously are a better constructed organization. They have a better constructed roster to put around their quarterback, and that's why I had absolutely no issue with the Philadelphia Eagles moving up to take a quarterback. Because when you have a good roster constructed around your team, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they're good. Good offensive line, good defensive line, good secondary. They're just okay. They're an 8-8 team. They're a 9-7 team. You need that quarterback to put you over the edge. And they thought they found their quarterback to put them over the edge. Back to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are a mediocre team without their quarterback. The Philadelphia Eagles will be a mediocre team until they find their quarterback, until Carson Wentz develops. It makes complete sense why they would trade up. But for the Los Angeles Rams to trade up and take Jared Goff, to me, who was not NFL ready, I was not impressed with that Cal running a spread West Coast spread system, and was an organization just completely sabotaging him, and with no offensive line, no wide receiver core, no tight end, a conservative coach caller in Jeff Fisher. It was no reason why this team will go 4-12 and become the clowns of the NFC West. Now back to the NFC South, because I kind of skimmed over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I kind of just random on about the Falcons. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think with O.J. Howard, to me, was a phenomenal value pick. It was remarkable how he even fell that far down. It was truly remarkable. I did not know he was going to fall that far. No one knew he was going to fall, but you have him with a gunslinger in Jameis Winston, with Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. To me, and that's too much firepower for an offense to handle. Not because of the offensive receivers you have, just because of the quarterback. Because Jameis Winston, unlike Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, if he sees it, he's going to throw it. The difference between Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, because the reason why Jameis Winston was so highly touted ahead of Marcus Mariota, is because his ability of his arm strength is just a cannon of an arm, just to wing it downfield, despite the defender or whatever. And I think that can be detrimental. But if you can do that consistently, which Jameis Winston can, I think that it can be very, very good for a team to have, a very, very good tool for a quarterback to have. Just have a cannon of an arm, just a complete confidence in your arm and in your ability and in your receivers and who you're throwing it to. And with Mike Evans, there's a rangy, tall, lengthy receiver, just a complete opposite of that on the other side, and just a small burner, and just a complete one of the best prototypical Madden-like build tight end in O.J. Howard. This is a scary, scary offense. And on the defensive side of the ball, Lavonte David, and I think Noah Spence was a great, great value pick. Brent Grimes is still kicking. Optimus Grimes is still there. He's still a good quarterback. He's never been a great or a top 10, top 15 quarterback, but he's still a good, serviceable cornerback. And you have Vernon Hargreaves, which I think was also a good pick. I really like Vernon Hargreaves, who's one of my favorite cornerbacks and one of my favorite players to watch last year. And with McCoy and the trenches, and to me, I'm very, very excited to see this team and see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them being the crowns of the NFC South. I'm so sorry I glossed over this. I will put an annotation on screen, direct to y'all to this segment, and I do have them going 10-6. This has been David Grace with the Solo Challenge podcast with the Aggressive Catch YouTube channel. Signing out. Take it easy, guys.